Harry Hoyt's 1925 classic, The Lost World, is my favorite silent film of all time and is the grandfather to King Kong. So let's head back to 1925, where we will be heading to the jungles of South America and prove to everybody that there is the Lost World. A few disclaimers before we start. The first disclaimer is that there's going to be major spoilers to the Lost World, so I'd recommend you go, watch The Lost World, and then come back. The second disclaimer is that there's going to be a blackface performance, which we will be going over and covering. So if you find that offensive in any way, shape, or form, I recommend you not watch this video. By the way, I do not support blackface at all. But if you're sticking around, I hope that you enjoy the video. Production started in the early 1920s with a filmmaker by the name of Harry Hoyt getting the rights to Arthur Conan Doyle's book, The Lost World. He wanted to make it into a film, so he got a stop-motion animator by the name of Willis O'Brien, who, yes, did the stop-motion work for King Kong, and he also called in the rest of the crew. And that's it for the production. The film starts off in London with a journalist by the name of Edward Malone trying to propose to his girlfriend Gladys, but she doesn't accept. He then heads to his job at the London Journal and talks to some of his co-workers about interviewing Professor Challenger, who is a paleontologist. He heads to the museum and then meets Sir John Roxton, who's an explorer. We then meet Professor Challenger, who is trying to prove to everybody that dinosaurs are still in fact alive. However, nobody believes him, so he decides to start an expedition to go to South America to try to find them. Sir John Roxton agrees to go with him. By the way, he hates journalists, which is why when Malone states that he wants to go, he gets chased out of the building by Challenger because he's a journalist. Malone then breaks into Challenger's house, and they fight. And I'm just going to let you guys watch this entire fight scene, because it's really funny. Challenger and Malone are then cool, and then Challenger decides to show Malone the diary of Maple White, who's trying to prove that dinosaurs exist. The problem is Maple White went missing on a plateau in South America. We then meet Paula, who's the daughter of Maple White, and then we head off to South America, where we see crocodiles, we meet Joko, the adorable little monkey, and then we head off to the Lost World, and we also see a lot of jaguars. They decide to set camp near the plateau, and then we see a group of bears very adorably go into the group's food supply. Then we see an ape man and a chimp throw a boulder down on the group. Maple White's theories are then proven true when the group sees a pteranodon flying in the distance. Trigger warning, but here it is. The blackface performance, which is Zambo. In the movie, he is portrayed to be a very cowardly, weird man, yet in the book, Arthur Conan Doyle expresses him as the Black Hercules. That's it. If you guys decided to watch it through that was all I wanted to say. It's kind of awkward for me talking about it since I'm white and I'm not a black person, but that is really all I just wanted to cover, because blackface is something that did happen back then, and I just wanted to go over it, because it is often forgot about nowadays, and I want people to remember that this is something that happened and it is wrong. So, let's get on. A brontosaurus then traps the group onto the plateau after they scaled it, and then they see two dinosaurs fighting. Wow. Then an Allosaurus tries to kill a Triceratops, and then in a forest, we see something, and it is a T-Rex, which then goes and tries to kill another type of dinosaur. Edward is then nearly killed by the ape man. However, the ape man gets shot and runs away, and then he confesses his love towards Paula, and then John Roxton finds skeletal remains of Maple White. A fight between a Brontosaurus and an Allosaurus ends with a Brontosaurus falling into the lake, but it does in fact survive. Then, on the plateau, a volcano erupts, and then Edward is shouting, trying to get help, and then it ends, and it is just a feeding zone for little animals. And then they get out of the cavern, and the ape man gets killed. However, Challenger decides to bring the Brontosaurus back to London to prove to everybody that he is in fact right on what he said about the dinosaurs. Ed gives a call to Challenger saying that the Brontosaurus has escaped, and then it goes and rampages through London. It rampages through the museum, it destroys this big corner building right here, and then goes onto the Tower Bridge and falls into the London River. And then Challenger is distraught. And so is Ed, because Gladys cheated on him. However, he goes to marry Paula, and the Brontosaurus swims away. This is my favorite silent film of all time, which is pretty weird because of the fact that it came out later in the silent era. I think that this film is a cinematic masterpiece and was definitely a crucial part for not only making King Kong, but for changing cinema forever. Because, well, King Kong changed cinema forever, and if it wasn't for this film, there would be no King Kong. And that's the truth. And that, everybody, is why I give this film an 8.1 out of 10. Sure, it may be rough around the edges, but in the center is a very rich and very fantastic piece of cinematic history. This is definitely in my top 30 favorite films of all time. And yeah, I love this film to death. Tune in on Wednesday, where we are going to be reviewing a very big and influential 80s horror flick. I'm of course talking about An American Werewolf in London.